Grooming Ring.
In criminal psychology, there is a profile for victims who don't run. People ask, why did they stay with the abuser? Why didn't they leave when the mask slipped? The civilian answer is they were weak. The forensic answer is they were groomed. You don't just wake up one day and accept abuse. You have to be trained for it. You have to be desensitized to it slowly over decades. To create a victim who will protect their own abuser, you need a long-term operation. You need a grooming ring. You have spent years wondering why you have such a high tolerance for pain. Why you apologize when someone else hurts you. That isn't your personality. That is evidence. It is evidence that you were raised in a syndicate designed to turn a human child into a commodity.
The architecture of grooming.
Empowered Shadows Podcast. Let's open the file and look at the blueprints, because you don't just build a prison overnight. You lay the bricks one by one. Grooming isn't just about the physical act. It's about the systemic dismantling of the human operating system. To groom a child effectively, the syndicate needs to install specific protocols of control. Protocol 1, the suppression of dissent. This is where they train you to be silent. It wasn't just be quiet, it was aggressive silencing. Shut up. You talk too much. Nobody wants to hear your opinion. Did I ask you anything? Don't you dare talk back to me. They were teaching you that your voice was a weapon against the family, and if you use it, you would be punished. Protocol 2, emotional conditioning. They had to train you to fear your own feelings. When you cried, they didn't offer comfort. They offered a threat. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Fix your face before I fix it for you. You're too sensitive. Get out of here with that crybaby shit. Think about the phrasing. I'll give you something to cry about. This is a promise of violence. That is a terrorist threat issued by a parent to a child. They condition you to believe that showing emotion was dangerous. Protocol 3, asset seizure. They taught you that you owned nothing, not even your own safe space. They would take away your favorite toys, your electronics, your door. I bought it, I can take it. You don't own anything in this house. That wasn't discipline. That was strip searching. They were stripping you of your identity, of your autonomy, so you would know that you existed only by their permission.
The hierarchy, the boss, and the silencer.
A syndicate never runs on just one person. It takes two distinct profiles to keep the cage locked. They play good cop, bad cop with your life, but you eventually realize that both were crooked. First, you have the boss. They were the noise, the heat, the active shooter. Their job was to extract the supply. They demanded your worship, your time, and your energy. They spoke the language of guilt. Look what you made me do. You are so ungrateful. After everything I sacrificed for you, this is how you treat me? They made you believe that their rage was your fault. They convinced you that if you just worked harder, if you were just better, they wouldn't have to hurt you. But the boss can't operate without a partner. Enter the silencer. This is the nice parent, the quiet one. And for years, you thought they were your ally. You thought they were a victim too. But let's look at the evidence. They saw the abuse. They heard the screaming. They saw the bruises on your spirit. And what did they do? Did they arrest the boss? No. They drove the getaway car. They were the dirty cop on payroll. Their job wasn't to stop the crime. Their job was to manage the witness. They taught you the code of silence. Don't poke the bear. You know how they get. Just apologize and get it over with. Don't upset the family. Just keep the peace. They sold you out for a quiet life. They taught you that your safety was less important than their comfort. The boss broke legs, but the silencer is the one who hid your crutches so you couldn't run.
The mule, the scapegoat.
And what was your role in the syndicate? You weren't a member. You were the mule. You were the scapegoat. In organized crime, the mule carries the illegal substance. In this house, you carried the blame. And to keep you in line, they used triangulation. They manufactured sibling rivalry. This wasn't normal brothers and sisters fighting. This was a gladiator match set up by the emperor. Why can't you be more like your sister? Your brother never gave me this trouble. They pitted you against each other so you wouldn't team up against them. And the justice system in the house was rigged. You know the feeling, innocent of wrongdoing, but still punished. Something went missing, you were blamed. The boss had a bad day at work, you got yelled at. The golden child made a mistake, you took the fall. They stayed clean and respectable because you were the designated carrier of their filth.
The custody transfer, the false escape.
When you met the partner, you thought, finally, someone who sees me. Finally, I'm out of that house. But you didn't escape. You were transferred. It was a lateral move. You went from one branch of the syndicate to another. The boss and the silencer didn't mourn your leaving. They facilitated it. Because they recognized the partner. They saw another boss. They saw another user. They saw a mercenary. And without you ever knowing, they sold you. Not for money, but for validation, for relief. They handed them the dossier on you. They have abandonment issues. Use that. They hate conflict. Use that. They will do anything to feel safe. Be sure to exploit that. When they bonded with the mercenary, when they sided with them over you, that was the transaction clearing. They handed the mule to a new handler. You weren't starting a new life. You were just under new management.
The sanctioned hit, no cavalry coming.
And then came the violence. The mercenaries started breaking the terms of the deal. They weren't just managing you. They were trying to destroy you. And because you still believed in the family myth, You did the one thing a child is programmed to do. You called home. You thought there was a line. You thought that if an outsider touched a member of the syndicate, it would be war. You expected the cavalry, but when you made the call, no one came. You made another call and the line goes dead. You made another call. They didn't send help. They sent excuses. You need to be more patient. Relationships are hard. Don't be dramatic. Well, what did you do? And that is when it hit you. The cold reality. Like a bullet. This wasn't negligence. This was a sanctioned hit. In organized crime, you can't touch a member unless the boss says it's okay. The partner couldn't have touched you without their permission. They gave them the green light. They saw you bleeding out and they didn't apply a tourniquet. They told you to stop getting blood on the carpet. They chose the outsider over their own blood.
The devaluation tactic, lowering your social value.
And this is where the operation got dark. Once they realized you were strong, once they realized you had brains, beauty, and a warrior spirit, they had to suppress your stock price. They initiated the devaluation tactic. They couldn't let you realize how powerful you were, or you would leave the syndicate. So they had to convince you that you were worthless. They systematically attacked your social value. They picked at your appearance. They mocked your intelligence. They minimized your achievements. You think you're so smart. Who do you think you are? They were trying to lower your market value so you wouldn't test your luck on the open market. And the chaos, the constant fighting, that wasn't accidental. That was manufactured turmoil. They kept you in a state of high anxiety on purpose because a confused victim doesn't plot a revolution. They wanted you too exhausted to think, too insecure to move, and too broken to fight. It was a strategic attempt to cripple your confidence so you would stay in the cage.
The internal wire, the third eye.
Every crime boss makes one fatal mistake: arrogance. They looked at you and saw a victim. They didn't realize they were breeding a natural-born detective. They underestimated your street smarts. They thought your sensitivity was a weakness, but you were using their arrogance to your benefit. You let them think you were feeble while you were actually deep undercover. You were running your own investigation. Internal, you were reconnecting with your spirit. External, you were building a profile on them. You realize that wrestling with a liar is like wrestling with a pig in mud. You both get dirty, but the pig likes it, and you aren't a pig. So you stopped playing their game the way they wanted you to play, and you turned on your internal wire. You started wearing a wire directly to God. Suddenly, you had surveillance on the whole operation. Your third eye popped open and you started seeing the setups in real time. You saw the crisis before it happened. You saw the flying monkeys for what they were. cheap henchmen doing the dirty work. You saw the fake smiles on the double agents. Your intuition wasn't anxiety, it was intel. It whispered, don't sign that, don't answer that, don't eat that, don't drink that, don't get in that car, walk away. And they hated it. They hated your audacity. They hated that they couldn't provoke you anymore because you could see the strings on the puppet. And most of all, they hated that you walked through a sewer every single day, but your soul stayed clean. You were surviving because you stopped playing their game and started running the show.
The shakedown, resource depletion.
Empowered Shadows Podcast. But the Syndicate is not stupid. They sensed you pulling away. They felt the supply lines getting cut. And when a crime boss senses an asset is trying to leave town, they break the asset's knees. This explains the absolute hell you lived through right before the end. Do you remember how everything went wrong at once? This wasn't bad luck. This was the shakedown. They needed to deplete your resources so you couldn't afford a ticket out. Sleep deprivation. They started fights at 11 p.m. They woke you up at 3 a.m. They knew that if you were exhausted, you couldn't think straight. So they deliberately created a toxic environment to crash your system. Financial sabotage. The bait and switch. Suddenly, there were emergencies. Cars breaking down, hidden debts revealed, money disappearing. They lured you into business deals with promise of partnership. Remember that one deal? You were the realtor, they were the investor. The plan was to sell. You did 10 months of free labor, renovating, prepping, marketing, banking on that $9,000 commission. But at the finish line, the script flipped. Actually, I decided to lease it. And just like that, your $9,000 check turned into $1,000 after broker fees. They got a tenant and a cash flowing asset. You got 10 months of wasted life. That wasn't a change of business strategy. That was wage theft. Biological warfare. They hacked your medical file and studied you, weaponizing your empathic nature alongside neurodivergency. They knew your high sensitivity meant you absorbed energy like a sponge. So they initiated noise campaigns. They left environments filthy and unsanitary because they knew the visual clutter would paralyze your ADHD brain. They overworked you until you had forced shutdowns, sleeping for 10, sometimes 24 hours just to reboot. You were like an avatar, forced back into the pod because the atmosphere was so poisonous to breathe. And when you woke up, they were waiting with the clipboard. Look how long you slept. Look at all the things that didn't get done while you were being lazy. But let's look at the logic of that. If you were asleep, why didn't they do it? They were awake. They were there. They didn't want the house clean. They wanted to complain, and they wanted you guilty. All of the relentless circular arguments that made no sense. They weren't trying to communicate. They were trying to scramble your wire. They knew you were tuning into God, so they turned up the static. They tried to fry your connection to your intuition so you couldn't hear the exit command. They were ramping up the voltage to exhaust you. They wanted to force you back into submission through sheer attrition. They wanted you so tired, so broke, so confused that you would just collapse and say, "Fine, I'll stay."
Burning the safe houses, cutting the lines.
While they were breaking you down inside the house, they were ensuring you had nowhere to go outside of it. This is the part that makes your blood run cold. While you were still sleeping in your bed, thinking these people were your dysfunctional family, they were already on the phone. They were burning your safe houses. They went to the extended family. They went to your old friends. They went to your neighbors and planted the seed. We are so worried about them. They're acting erratic. They're acting real different these days. They supposed to be spiritual now, I guess. If they call you saying crazy things, just ignore it. They were preemptively cutting your phone lines. They were triangulating the entire network against you. They wanted to ensure that when you finally ran, when you finally reached your hand for help, you would find every door locked. You would find every face turned away. They didn't just want to win the argument. They wanted to leave you stranded in the wilderness with no supplies and no allies. They rigged the jury before you even walked into the courtroom.
The reputational hit, character assassination.
And then the day came. You finally escaped. You crossed the border. You thought the war was over, but you forgot one thing. You were the star witness. You were the mule who carried 30 years of evidence. And the syndicate does not let a witness walk away with the files. So they initiated protocol, total war. They put a hit out on you, a physical hit, a reputational hit. The moment you walked out of the door, the syndicate went into crisis management mode. They knew that if you spoke, their image would crumble. So they had to speak first. They had to destroy your credibility before you could ever even open your mouth. This was the character assassination. They didn't just tell people you left. They told people why they had to let you go, that you're unstable, that you're having a breakdown. We tried to help them, but they're just too toxic. Every foul and fuckery they've done to you was somehow flipped as if you were the perpetrator. Do you see the brilliance of the con? They took the knife out of their own hands and planted it into yours. They spun the narrative so effectively that the victim looked like the aggressor and the abuser looked like the martyr. They wanted your testimony to be inadmissible in the court of public opinion. They scorched the earth so you would have no ground to stand on. They would rather see you dead socially, spiritually, physically, than see themselves clearly.
The manhunt, active measures and stalking.
It didn't stop at words. When the smear campaign didn't break you, they moved to kinetic warfare. They started the manhunt. You felt like you were being hunted, and you were right. They weren't just gossiping anymore. They were gang stalking. They leaked your coordinates. They put your address online. They tried to burn down your digital safe house, hacking your social media, attempting to breach your bank accounts. They flood your phone with fake numbers, with links, harassing you day and night. And then came the physical intimidation, following you in different cars, following you to different stores, driving your neighborhood slowly, sitting in parked cars, surveilling your every move, watching you. Why? Why go to such lengths? Because they needed to induce a psychotic break. They wanted to terrorize you so badly that you would start acting crazy. They wanted you looking over your shoulder, screaming for help, running from shadows. Because if you look paranoid, no one believes the truth. They were setting up the alibi before the crime. They were painting a picture of an unstable person so that if something terrible happened to you, if you crashed or disappeared or got hurt, the world would say, oh, it's their own fault. They were unstable. They were running from their demons. Who cuts off their whole family? Who does that? But let's get one thing straight. You weren't running from your demons. You made friends with your demons a long time ago. Your demons work for you now. They do what you say. You don't run from your own shadows. You rule them. And that is why you aren't scared. You're just tired. You are tired because it has been years and they are still on your ass. Those freedom papers are signed. There are no assets shared. There are no children binding you. So why are they still hunting you? Because they have a debt to pay. They are spiritually bankrupt and they are trying to cash in on your life to absolve their debt. They are hunting you for the audacity of exercising your free will. They are angry because you took the supply off the market. So when they say you are running from demons, you laugh. I'm not afraid of my own demons. Why in the fuck would I be afraid of yours? I'm not running because I'm scared. I'm moving because I refuse to let you cash that check.
The system failure, the broken spell.
And this brings us to the ultimate irony of the Syndicate. They spent decades building a cage for you. They installed the buttons. They wired the controls. But in the end, the grooming didn't work. Why? Because they got greedy. They operated on the assumption that their programming was unbreakable. They thought they could sell you to a new handler, the mercenary, let them torture you, and that you would still stay loyal to the brand. They overplayed their hand. Remember the cell? When they handed you over, they thought the new handler would just keep the supply flowing. But the handler was reckless. They didn't just use the mule, they tried to break the mule's back. And when you called home, when you begged for help, they gave you the sanctioned hit. That was the moment the machine broke. That was the moment the wires short-circuited. The pain was so intense that it snapped you out of the trance. If they had offered maybe just 10% kindness, you might just have stayed forever. If they had given you just a crumb of validation, you might not have ever left. But by giving you zero, by showing you total indifference to your suffering, they inadvertently deprogrammed you. Their cruelty was the alarm clock. They forced you to realize that loyalty to them was suicide. They sabotaged their own investment. They groomed you to be a servant, but they treated you so badly that you became a warrior just to survive. They didn't break you. They broke the spell. Their generational grooming operation failed.
The Great Escape, Goons versus Gangsters.
Empowered Shadows Podcast. Now this is the part that drives the Syndicate crazy. They had the numbers. They had the flying monkeys. They had the surveillance. By all logic, they should have crushed you, but they failed. Why? Because they were playing guns and gangsters. They were respecting the laws of physics, brute force, intimidation, fear, but they didn't respect your backup. They didn't realize who was protecting you. You have a team too. You call them your spiritual goons. And your goons are bigger, faster, stronger, smarter than any gangster the Syndicate can hire. The gangsters in the Syndicate walk around like they are God. They think they hold the keys to your life. They think they determine your fate. They are not God, not by a long shot. They are just small-time crooks playing dress-up with a cash machine. While they were busy hacking your phone, your goons were clearing the path. While they were driving by your house, your team was showing you the exit route in your dreams. That is how you pulled off the Great Escape. It wasn't a logical plan written on paper. It was divine intel. A feeling in your gut that says, leave now, so you leave. A vibration tells you, take the other road, so you turn. A whisper that says, don't pick that up, so you don't. And whether you realized it or not, every single time, you missed their trap by inches. They were setting up roadblocks for a human, but you were moving like a spirit. Your goons blinded them. Your goons blocked them. Your goons had them fools jammed up, creaking around their house in the dark, haunting them in their dreams, playing in the dark while you keep your hands clean. While you are on the other side of the border and they are still stuck in the old neighborhood looking for a ghost.
The boomerang effect, the law of returns.
In this jurisdiction, Newton's third law applies spiritually. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Every time they speak on your name, every time they interfere with your survival, every time they send dark energy your way, it ricochets. They threw a curse at a wall of mirrors and it hit them in their face. Look at the evidence on their side of the fence. Stagnation, financial ruin, sudden sickness, mental decline. Right where you left them is exactly where they are. They are wondering why their lives are falling apart. The answer is simple. The bill has come due. They ordered destruction for you, but the universe delivered it to the sender. They wished for a crash, and they are the ones caught in the wreckage. Another tactical error was delusion. They thought a siege would force a surrender. They believe that if they cause you to lose your job, your house, your car, that you would come crawling back to them for shelter. For what? To live as a mule? To return to being a workhorse, waiting for slaughter? Are you mad? Why would you return to a life riddled with their karma to help pay off their karmic debt? That is madness. They want you back so they can finish the job. They refuse to learn the law. Leave people alone. They laughed at your light, remember? They laughed at your gifts, remember that? You try to live right. You honor your ancestors, you pray, you walk in Christ consciousness, and you are wise enough to know that there is no going back, and they are not your assignment. Now they are trapped and consumed by their own darkness. They poison their own wells and possessed by the deadly seven, and you cannot help them. You will not help them. You cannot go back. You will not go back. You don't deal with dark magic, and you don't perform exorcisms.
The Promised Land, the Elysium Field.
Why do you keep walking? It isn't just the escape of the fire. It's because you can see the water. You endure the loss of the old history because you are writing a new prophecy. Close your eyes and see it. It looks like a golden field. It looks like rest. You didn't die in the arena, gladiator. You won. You walked out of the front gate, and your reward isn't just safety. Your reward is abundance. It is the love, real, reciprocal, soft love. Finding a mate who doesn't want to break you, but wants to build with you. A partnership where you don't have to explain your soul because they already speak your language. No entrapment, no games, just two sovereigns building a kingdom of peace. It is the family. If God gives you children, look at them. They aren't just safe, they are free. They are running through the grass laughing. They don't know what walking on eggshells mean. They don't know the weight of a parent's hunger. They only know the warmth of a parent's joy. It is a community, a table full of friends where no one is secretly holding a knife. Laughter that doesn't have a sharp edge. A village that celebrates you, not tolerates you. That is what God promised you. That is the restitution. You are the root of this new tree, and the fruit isn't bitter. The fruit is sweet. The fruit is plentiful. You canceled every contract made without your authority and consent. You are released from bindings and dark altars made to restrict your growth and block your roads. You broke the curse so you could catch the blessings. You expelled the poison so you could taste the honey. You have healed and freed so many that came before you. They walked as far as they could because they knew you would walk the rest of the way together. And with every tear counted, you have arrived. You made it. Take off the armor. Put down the sword. You are home. You are free. So, how does the story end? Does it end with you hiding in the dark? No, that isn't how a gladiator retires. The story ends with you building. You stop looking over your shoulder because there's nothing behind you worth looking at. The Syndicate is still back there, of course, stuck in their loop, eating their own tail. They are still playing guns and gangsters, whatever. You revoke their access to your frequency. Their laws don't apply here. Their guilt trips are counterfeit currency in this country. Their shame has no market value here. But you're miles away breathing different air. You have moved to a non-extradition zone. But it's not just a place on a map. It's a state of being. You are busy raising free children. You are busy loving a partner who loves you back. You are busy counting the fruit of your own harvest. You are busy building a community. You aren't a fugitive running from the law. You are the lawmaker of your own life. You are a sovereign nation. You are protected by God, guarded by goons, and anchored in peace. Let them bang on the gates. Let them send their spies. They can't touch you. Not because you're running. It's because they better not cross that gun line. I am Woofy. Welcome to the resistance.